Well, hello, one and all, and welcome to the EWTCR Shoot-Out of 2022. I can't really give you good tidings for the happy holidays as of yet. We're not in December.
Not yet.
Come on, let's hold the phones just a little bit, but let's pick up the phone because calling in live from our various rooms are myself, James Kirk, Lewis McGlade. We've also got Mr. Captain Chris on production. Lewis, today we find out who's on the 2023 EWTCR grid. Some are confirmed through. For some, perhaps a little bit of a nervous wait throughout the rest of this evening.
Yeah, it's going to be two races that are going to be jam-packed with drama, and around a circuit like this, if there's one thing I'd say, we like ourselves a little bit of Motorland Aragón, but qualifying is going to be critical. It is a hard track to pass. You can pass on it, it's possible, but it's hard. The qualifying session is going to be nail-biting. The drivers will be going through about now, and outside that, it's going to be a crazy thrill ride to see who's going to be joining us on our grid.
It's been a crazy ride for the last couple of weeks, hasn't it? If we take a little look at the schedule that we've enjoyed, we started off with the Nordschleife, which is very much throwing people immediately into the deep end, whether you are new to the championship or even if you are an experienced star. We then moved on to the Hungaroring last week, which provided two races. They weren't classics, but they were fascinating in regards to that overall championship picture. And Motorland Aragón, we actually saw it for the first time in our latest season back in 2020. I remember the races there were incredibly fun. You might say, oh, there's not many opportunities to overtake, but trust me, the EWTCR grid always finds a way, especially around here. And let's paint the picture, shall we? In terms of the overall standings, Gianmarco Fiducci, he leads them, and he is actually our first confirmed driver through to 2023. 59 points. It is an unassailable lead.
Yes, indeed. He's had a fantastic season again. One of consistency, although still, lacking that race win. He's been on the podium a few times, but we're still wondering whether he's got that ability. We know he does. It's where the focus is, though, for Team Fordzilla right now. They've got a driver in Fiducci, they've got a driver in Pliska, they've got a driver in Alessandro Ottaviani, all as near as makes everyone's confirmed on the grid. Alessandro Ottaviani is probably a little bit low on points to kind of properly convert, but realistically I'd say yes, should be fine. So then they've got a fourth driver who doesn't have any points in this, which is Juan Manuel Gomez. And I was speaking to Gianmarco Fiducci. The focus for the team is to make sure that Gomez will get through. A couple of drivers that are low down on that standings list, though, that are quite close to the cut-off. Zoltan Suti, not here, and yet is in 19th on there. Gergo Baldi in 15th, also not here. A little bit tight. We'll have to discuss that a little bit. Jack Keithley, who's inside the top 10, not going to be here for the day, but I'd say Keithley, after that good round at the Hungaroring, must be said, I think he should be all right.
Yeah, we were having a very large discussion, weren't we? Because there are legitimate mathematical permutations to how many points are available and who can go through. That is not for us to discuss. You need an entire mathematical team on hand to be able to deliver all of that information in a succinct manner. But what we believe, at least from just common sense value, is we're looking around that P14 area, aren't we? David Naj, Gergo Baldi, Ilya Dravosakov, and Yuval Rosen. Those guys could be safe on a normal day in EWTCR land. The question is, Lewis, is it ever going to be a normal day in EWTCR land? Because lo and behold, Kirill Antonov might very well end up picking his second win of his entire EWTCR career. All of a sudden, that points total shoots up from 5 well into the top 10. And Gergo Baldi and the likes, or Gergo Baldi especially, they're going to be looking over their shoulders because the reigning champion, he's not here today.
Yeah. And also there's a couple of other drivers on the list that are jumping in for this round that we probably need to keep note of. 31st on this list, Adam Pinces. To be fair, Pavel Makonnen down there. Also wants to keep an eye on Sebastian Ray. He's been incredibly fast in the touring cars as of late. Same with Mariusz Zabdir, who's been very good doing the ranked stuff and the Racing Rank Championship, as well as just the ranked stuff in general. A few of the other names that kind of aren't there. We know that Team Fordzilla are backing Juan Manuel Gomez also. So there's a few names that are down and outside of those decent point scoring finishes that might well be able to throw themselves in the mix. And like I say, if enough of them can actually get up inside that top 10, inside the decent point scoring positions, that's where, even if you're not here, you're like the likes of Gergo Baldi, that's where you start to be a little bit concerned, because if enough of them do well that either don't have points or have very low amount of points so far, if enough of them go fast, that's what's going to put you in trouble.
And it is an interest. I'm glad that you bring up Juan Manuel Gomez in particular, because he's quite the interesting character. He always shows great pace. in qualifying, and he's one of the in terms of like actual experience in this championship, and indeed its predecessor, the EWTCC, one of the oldest quote unquote drivers on the grid. The guy has been there since the very beginning, but has never lived up to the potential that has been shown from those qualifying laps. And even as late as last week, we saw the Argentinian qualifying so well, only for him to ultimately crash through the field, crash into other drivers, and hence pick up enough incident points to get himself a DQ from race 1, couldn't recover for race number 2. And it's why I think it's particularly interesting that the likes of Fiduci are like, okay, we're going to try and focus around Juan Manuel Gomez. He is going to be the guy that we try and center all of our efforts on. What if it's a lost course in the end? Then you're damaging your own efforts. You're giving other drivers the chance to pick up more points. And that's potentially a backfire just waiting to happen.
Yeah, it's risky, but I say with 2 of their cars, what you can do is you can just leave Alessandro Ottaviani to kind of get after himself and try and score some decent points for himself, and not allow him to sacrifice himself, whilst then using, like you say, the other 2, in Gianmarco Fiduci and Pliska, to actually kind of then those 2 are the ones that are assisting. It's a risky game, but those 2 are fairly safe, so you know, kind of do what you want on that side of things. Obviously, the racetrack they're at is Motorland Aragón, and we've kind of discussed this a few times. Great track, using the layout that was actually used in 2020 as well. So we've got that chicane in 16, 17, 18, 19 that's in the middle of the backstretch. Now, normally I'd be like, oh, well, maybe is that kind of slowing you down to the hairpin to remove an overtaken zone? I don't think so. I think it's actually really good that we're using this layout. It's, you know, it's kind of one that's opening up an extra opportunity and a little bit more spice and requirement of perfection on a hot lap.
Yeah, and it's actually the first time that we get to use this layout as well. It wasn't in the game when we last visited Motorland Aragón, and so I remember so many incidents down at that third to last corner just because of the amount of slipstreaming and people misjudging braking zones. There are a number of high profile incidents that changed the championship picture at the time. So to have that extra chicane in there, it adds another overtaking opportunity, and it makes sure that people are not being as silly as potentially they might be. You'll notice there the fastest leaderboard time, of course, set by Max Pfeiffer. Great to see him back on the grid, Lewis. As late as a week and a half ago, the dude was in hospital, so he is recovered well. It's a delight to see. He should be safe on points anyway, but he'll be looking for maybe a win to add to the total, which he has already accrued so far.
I was going to say, asking for a little bit of a boost in confidence going into the evening's racing, of course. Standard format, by the way, for the evening. Qualifying, 2 races, top 10 reverse grid race in that second one. That's always caused a little bit of spice. But I get the feeling, Jay, that on a night like this, it's going to cause even more spice. If you know that you're sat there, Kirill Antonov, for example, you sat there on 5 points. Maybe you don't have a good first race, so you get an 8th or a 9th or something like that. You are more determined to win that next race because that's your last chance to get a whole heap of points onto the board to get that last position to qualify in. And if not, for the likes of Fiduci or even Pfeiffer or whoever, like someone who has decent points, they want to end the shootout on a high, carrying that confidence into the next year and into the main season.
Well, not only that, but think of it this way. Antonov, race winner. Baldi, previous champion. I think Zoltan Shuti has a race win off the top of my head as well. Most certainly visited the podium, that's for sure. These are good drivers. Yeah. You know, these are great drivers. And for the guys at the top of the list, they want to be taking those big point opportunities away from those drivers because in theory, that 2023 grid could be easier for them if those types of rivals are not there. So it's a bit of a double-edged blade. There is no reason to let up. And for the likes of Fiduci, who are already through, maybe they can focus their efforts on helping their fellow drivers. Just you know, just to being a good guy, because we saw him being a little bit, I don't want to say brutish, but Ottaviani certainly would be wanting a couple of favours back this week. Yeah,
potentially. I mean, I did have a chat with Gianmarco afterwards, and particularly about that first race where they were all in line behind Bence Banki, of course, the first race at the Hungaroring. And he was saying that, yeah, you're absolutely right. They were kind of, it was Pliska, then Ottaviani, and then Fiduci. Now, whilst I did get a little bit elbows out, to be fair, Fiduci was like, we were basically just waiting for Pliska to try something, and if he wasn't going to try something, we were just going to finish second, third, and fourth, because we didn't need do anything else. Easy to say, obviously, a post race and before it, but when you're in the middle of the heat of the action, sometimes it is just like, just get on with it. I know I felt that way when I was behind you in various race cars and whatnot. Sorry, mate. Like the time at Jerez, we won't talk about that either.
Oh boy, yes.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, that was not great. What about that time in Zolder though? That was a fun time.
That was someone squeezed me off, and I was We're not reminisce too much in the past. We've done our fair share of touring car races. It's about time for all the other ones though. They've got qualified, about 4.5 minutes left to go. Bence Banky's on that pole position at the moment, looking for obviously the final one of the shootouts, and looking for another race victory. You can see it happening behind us. It's gonna be a tight session, this one.
Very tight session indeed, but again, are we to be expecting anything less? Let's jump in on the action. A reminder, by the way, that it is a private qualifying session, so all of these drivers in their own personal little world, effectively. There's no other cars, no traffic to worry about, so really you can achieve the best lap time possible, as long as you put the best lap time possible on the board, that is. And Bence Banky continuing to go fast for a purple first sector. That means that he is the fastest actually in the overall session. So this isn't just a purple sector, a green sector effectively for Bence Banky. This is the best first sector out of anyone, currently navigating the chicane towards the now segregated back straight. Or is this the second half of the back straight? It is the second half of the back straight.
This is the first half. We're going into this chicane. You'll see it just here. You can see it going off to the left there. By the way, mate, I'm glad you're lead comms on this, because that's a whole lot of Hondas. It is very clearly a Honda track, which is not a problem we're going to have, by the way, when we do the season for real, because everyone makes their car selection at the start. Through the shootout, they can change cars as they wish, round to round. In the main season, that won't be a thing. They will they'll have to pick one car, which will all have their liveries on, which I am more than happy with.
Yeah, same. I'm so happy to have some actual esports liveries applied to these cars. It's going to be a beautiful looking field no matter who ultimately makes it in the end. Bence Banky makes it to the line, and that is a mighty third sector. That increases his lead to 1.5 tenths from Juan Manuel Gomez, who did need a strong qualifying, and you would think that if there is any hope for this man to score enough points to get into the top 20 we're looking for, by the way, to form our 2023 grid, you're not going to have much luck hitting other cars, Lewis, if there are no other cars in front of you. Yeah,
exactly. You got to. The thing is, they've got to be telling him to keep his nose clean to the race. At the moment, has nil points on the board. It's a solid goose egg for Gomez, so needs to at least get someone to the board. I've said before, I still think the cutoff will be around 15 points. I think those that have 17, I think they will be okay. So realistically for Gomez, in this first race coming up, needs a podium. I think if you get a podium, you're basically as good as on the season. In the season, I wouldn't want to just sit back and relax, but still. And like I say, the forwards of the team will know that. Thankfully, at the moment, Gomez is there in second, and who is directly behind? It is his teammate Fiducci, who is essentially, to a degree, only really here to keep Gomez in a decent spot.
I like the fact that he's keeping himself nice and honest as well. He wants to, I think, enter that season with a win for himself. Quite frankly, there's the lone wolf aspect of this championship to consider. Yes, it's useful to have teammates, stablemates on track alongside you to enact some team strategies between however many there are, but yes, there is only a Drivers' Championship to contend in the EWTCR. So for Fiducci, there's some personal glory. He currently lies ahead of Mr. Max Pfeiffer. And shout out to Gaspar Mrak. Now, we talk about Manuel Gomez not having any points. Well, Mrak also pointless going into Aragon. This could be a massive 2 races coming up for him.
No, I think Gaspar Mrak has. Oh no, yeah, sorry, yeah, he struggled a little bit, didn't he, in the last round?
Yeah,
I keep forgetting. I'm getting the 2 Slovenians mixed up. That's me. I don't know. There's a few people that have got to put on a good show in this race, that have to put themselves into a decent spot. Some of which I would argue aren't in the spot that I would have expected them in. Kirill Antonov being one, only 13th position in this session. Pliska moves up into 7th. But as we said, jumping in for this round, Adam Pinsesh, 15th. 0 points on the walk course his first round in this. Needs to get on with it a bit more, and that ain't going to be good enough.
Yeah, he was a regular point scorer in the EWTCR seasons gone past, Adam Finches, but he was never someone to star, let's say, in the first race. He was a bit of a second race merchant, as was Kirill Antonov, actually. So both of them in and around the area where we're expecting. Watch out for Yuval Rosen as well there, P12. Could do something magical in the second race. A shame to see Jersey James down there, James Montgomery. He has picked up points in almost every race this shootout, but it's only been minor points, Lewis. And starting from 31st on the grid, he's going to need a minor miracle to find himself on that 2023 grid. But
remember how good he was at working his way up the order at the Hungaroring. So
yes,
we won't count it out. I will say, in the final lap of that session, Mr. Pfeiffer did go up onto the front row of the grid. Only took a second. Didn't take pole position. Ben's Banky's still on that pole position, but it does mean that both Dura Esports drivers, between Banky and between Pfeiffer, will be starting on the front row, directly ahead of the two Fordzilla drivers in Gomez and Fiducci. It's going to be a pretty tight run down to the first corner, but again, the focus in this, almost above all else, if you're going to go out there and try and put on a show and win the race, fair enough, obviously, but it has to be bring home the points. Don't push anything too far. You've just got to do that. And, well, realistically for Gomez, don't get disqualified from the race. That's really important.
That's I would say that's the number one objective for Gomez, is just keep out of trouble, and more likely than not, you will gain positions for free. That's always the advice that I give out to any new drivers, is you don't have to go for moves necessarily. You will probably, if you're like 15th, 14th, 13th, you'll gain a couple of points, easy pickings. That said, we are at the penultimate race, Lewis, and so as much as we're talking about bringing home the points for those outside of the top 20 at this stage, yes, it might be worth sticking where you are, and you might accrue enough points in that second race, but then you're letting fate decide for you. Maybe in their minds it's easier to grab hold of your own destiny.
Yeah, sometimes it is the case of do as good as you can. Don't try and like sit back, rest, trust in the maths. Just get out there, just do what you can. Don't even think about the grid for next year, the top 20, the championship. Don't think about any of that. Just drive. Just get on with it. Just focus on what you're doing. I think that's going to be the key factor for some out there today. But sometimes a lot of drivers do like to focus on the bigger picture when it comes to something like this. I think the race though is about to begin.
Yes, it is. Of course, we've got plenty of corners to enjoy, plenty of laps to enjoy. 25 minutes on the clock as per standard, and that Honda contingent that goes all the way down to P12. It looks like it is going to be the car of choice. We'll see whether any of the other manufacturers can make their way up the grid as we are racing here in Motorland Aragón and sweeping into turn one already. A late move from the middle of the top 10 there. Might very well have been Harsha Obliska, Gregor Hudcek dropping down to P10 as a car goes spearing off there in the proper midfield. Might have been Verla, actually Matija Markovic, it looks like, who falls right back down to P32, sweeping through what is a very intricate Sector 1, moving their way uphill now down the inside. Not entirely sure who that is. Again, loads of Hondas, so your good luck was well justified, Lewis. We'll be waiting for our handy graphics to help us out on that one. But a great start ultimately for Banky. Kept Pfeiffer at bay and won Manuel Gomez right on Pfeiffer's tail, looking for an early move into P2.
Yeah, once they all get single file, they'll get a touch easier. Racing to Ben's Banky, though, pulling away from his teammate of Pfeiffer. Gomez obviously was assisted by Fiducci into the first corner, and now the up and under. That is Gomez in the black and red Honda, so he does take over second position. Coming out of that amazing downhill sweeper up towards the first of these basically chicanes on the back stretch, and Pfeiffer's going straight for it.
Back through into P2, aggressive from the German and the Argentine. Feels like a World Cup clash in the making, doesn't it? Although two powers who have perhaps tasted their best. Pfeiffer, I think, still yet to find his best, and a driver on the up and up. And Juan Manuel Gomez, well, he's not necessarily had an up and up as of yet, but better late than never as we're onto the first of these back stretches onto towards turn 16. Heavy braking zone, but a little bit too far back. Manuel Gomez as Fiducci locks in behind P4. Mrak, Hassa, Ottaviani, Pliška, Yarshel and Antonov rounding out the top 10. We were looking at other cars that might move their way up. Well, Antonov in that premium P10 position, of course, reverse grid, Lewis, and P10 is the lucky number.
Yes, indeed. Look at this defensive move, though. Barna trying to keep Hujek at bay, but then sends it on Antonov straight down into that. What it still feels like the final corner, but there's still 3 to go. Going around the penultimate one, up through the final. I think we saw that when we were racing in WTCR here. Is that a big dive going into that hairpin doesn't necessarily work. The outside line around it on the exit as we get 3 wide up towards T1, pick these apart.
Oh my goodness, and there was a bit of an inside maneuver there. I believe that's from Rack there, who holds on to P5. Oh, Rack actually, sorry, was on the outside. He's going to be caught out massively, very slow off the exit, caught in the curbing hugely, and Kirill Antonov's going to sweep around the outside of him up into P9, so from threat of falling out of the top 10, well, he is still going to fall out of the top 10 because for some reason, away from our picture, he's just dropped a handful of positions down to P13.
Whoa.
Oh, Cooper, keep it held in. Oh, nice save there, back onto the track. It is madness here in the midfield as Rosen takes 11th.
Yeah, it is getting a little bit dicey. There he goes. That was Vermeulen. So we had an issue before, and he's had an issue again. And that'll be Vermeulen essentially done. Gregor Hudcek as well, having another bit of problem as we're heading down the hill.
That looks like it might be graphical lag, actually.
I was going to say, it looks technical to me.
Yeah, so that might be an early retirement for Gregor Hudcek. Of course, won his first ever EWTCR race in Race 2 last week. Oh, that's very... It's not Vitvo who's aggressive. It's, I imagine that's Leandro Verler again, or is it Lucas Verler further up the field? It's Lucas Verler. So, of course, his brother Leandro had an excellent round at the Hungaroring, and you can understand why Lucas would be eager to join him, but Luciano Vitvo not taking any of it. He's going to remain in 15th for now, of course, the final points-paying position on the board.
Yeah, Yuval Rosen, though, having a bit of contact with Dravasekov. That was a little bit naughty. Obviously, like leaving it halfway down the inside. He's now going to have a terrible run as Yuval Rosen. David Noj might get involved in the mix. Probably because of where this chicane is. If you have a bad run out onto this backstretch, it's not as painful as it used to be because you've got time where you can reset coming through here. It's only the first chicane going through this one that actually really properly matters, because outside of that it's a completely flat right-left kink as we head back onto that stretch. So it's more about nailing the second corner in all of that. But once again, it opens up to this hairpin where we'll see if there's going to be any more moves. There's a couple in the foreground coming through there. I think it might have been Vitvo.
That might have been Vitvo indeed. He was under pressure from Guibert. Actually, it was Guibert on Lucas Verler, I should say. Guibert gaining that position. Guibert, who has been present at all 3 shootout rounds, but yet to score a singular point. If memory serves me correctly. He has scored 1 point. Never mind me. He scored 1 singular point at Hungaroring Race 2. So in the same race as Hudcek's win. Of course, him and Markovic now out of the race. Such a shame for both of them. Markovic, I think, bullied off the road. Hudcek bullied by his own technical gremlins. The Frenchman chases Vitvoet up the hill. And Vitvoet is one of those drivers who we're definitely hoping to see on the 2023 grid. In terms of overall racecraft, Lewis, a huge improvement from what we'd seen prior. And in that sort of situation as well, where he's being... There's an attempted bully here from Verler as he there looks up the inside. Just seems like he cuts a calmer figure to me.
Yeah, it certainly looks well in control at the moment. As ahead of this, Dravasekov having a bit of problem from Noj, of course, who is all over the rear end of that coupe. We're thinking, I know a thing or two about racing a Cupra on RaceRoom Racing Experience. He's obviously won the Cupra Sim Racing series before and is a quality driver, but now driving in the Honda, not quite having as much good fortune as we would expect, heading up towards this first of 3 major chicanes on this backstretch, but no one's really going for it right now. I think we've reached the whole single file portion of this. Right now, as things stand, Benz Banky's just checked out from 5. There's 1.3 seconds clear. 5 has still got Gomez behind, but I think Fordzilla potentially have told Gomez to back off a touch.
Possibly, and there was a massive moment there for Rosen. I'm surprised he saved that, and I don't actually know whether there was contact or not that just unsettled the car. But Juan Manuel Gomez doing everything that he needs to do right now. Looks like he can't touch Max Pfeiffer, but Max Pfeiffer close enough to give Gomez that slipstream, which is so essential from the rundown from turn, or up from turn 10 to turn 12. There we go, teeth in, James. From 15 to 16, and then from 19 to 20 again. And this could be frustrating for Duty, who gets that curbing horribly wrong. But then again, he's safe through, so there's not much to worry about. Is back into the midfield. It's Dravosikov and Noj exchanging positions, and this has allowed Rosen a little bit of respite. He's still 2 seconds off Rack in 11th, though.
Also, how good is this race looking for Dura Esports? Because, Florian Haas has just got past Fiducci. Has Fiducci had a problem? Gianmarco Fiducci drops right the way down the order. Fiducci, he was only here really assisting his teammate in Gomez, has dropped off the order. I think he has had a technical problem.
Yeah, because it doesn't show that... Oh, now he's starting to lose positions. That feels like a disconnect to me. And I'm wondering, we saw him taking that curbing horribly wrong. He wonders whether he was starting to suffer with lag then, and this is just a flat-out disconnect. High-profile retirement then for Gianmarco Fiducci. Does open up the Shoot-Out quote-unquote championship if you're counting the points and want to see a winner from that, as Adam Pinches muscles his way through on Mihai Neg. Neg will be on the outside. This is actually a forceful move, but a smart move from Pinches, as now we go down the hill. Right-hander. He's almost helped around there by James. Jersey James up to P19. Look at him go.
I know, I was going to say earlier, he got up to 22nd position, he just squeezed over the nose, but keeps the throttle absolutely pinned over the front end of Vinieri. Now got Pinces directly ahead. I mean, yeah, super drive once more. He was very positive, by the way, after the round. He messaged me I did give him your details, but don't worry.
He did message me as well, it was lovely.
Super positive. He's putting on another great show. He's like, yeah, these commentators, they're talking about me. Yeah? He knows it. Surely he knows it in the car.
Shout out to James Montgomery's granddad at the young old age of 85. We know you're watching. We hope you're enjoying your son or your grandson and his actions up to P18 now as well. Points are in sight for Jersey James, and there's still 60 minutes left to run. You never know what can happen in the WTCR. Stranger things have happened. Pavel Konin, we've seen him partake in the EWTCR previously, left himself with a lot to do, not just in regards to only turning up to round 3, but also from where he started. And Adam Pinches as well, it's not going well for him, perhaps a little too late, I should say, for both of these guys as they try and make their way into the 2023.
There are a few names that are down the order where I'm sat there being like, it shows how competitive this field is. Like I say, Adam Pinches, who's done... I'm pretty sure he's done all of the rounds of the Esports WTCR. I'm pretty sure he has.
He has taken part in every WTCR up until this point, but he was not in either of the shootout rounds.
Shootout, exactly, yeah.
For 2022.
Yeah. But like I say, he's got his experience in the main grid, that's for sure, and across the sim racing world. And like I say, he's kind of struggling with this. Sebastian Ray, someone who's been very good in this car recently, struggling. Zabdir again, Vermeulen again. Luciano Viff is not in a great spot. David Naj has dominated in these kind of cars. We're having a bit more issue up here. I don't know which one that was. I think that might have been Verla, as we might go a little bit 3 wide down the hill.
He's going to try and sweep his way around the outside. Vivvoet actually gets blocked off here as Guibert, who is past Vivvoet now, and Naj continue to fight away. You've got to watch out for Lucas Verla and Mihai Neg here as well, as both will be looking to pick up points if things start to go awry. Lucas Verla currently occupying the one place outside of the points, P16, going for a wider berth into turn 12, and that's exactly why Guibert goes very deep. That's going to be, that's going to be Vivvoet back through, and now this gives Verla the opportunity to sweep around the outside of 13, sweep around the outside of 14, but Guibert, you know what, takes that curb horribly, but it works out for him. He puts Lucas Verla off and is able to retain 15.
And now the Romanian of Mihai Neg joins the scene, currently in that 17th position. Legendary Hyundai Elantra. I think we should give anyone a shout out that's not in Honda. No disrespect to Honda, but I have always said that if there is one car that is the focus, if you don't take it, I will give you more broadcast time. It's just sort of like, yeah, go against the trend and I'll talk about you a little bit more. You know, obviously Kirill Antonov up there in 9th position, obviously in position potentially for a decent spot on the reverse grid. Dorosekov in a Cupra. It's only Cupras and Hyundais, and I'm slightly more... No, actually, to be fair, I quite like both.
Do you remember when we saw Audis at the first round? That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
We'll have them back for the main season, I'm sure.
Oh, I imagine so.
I hope so.
Ilya Drogosakov then in one of said Cupras. P12, and looking to put the pressure on Rosen. And Rosen, really, at this point, I think 11's as good as it's going to get, because He's over 3 seconds away from Rack, who should be feeling pretty safe, I would say, in that reverse grid pole position, although he's going to try and get more points anyway. I think Kirill Antonov and Rack, unless they decide to stumble over each other, pretty nailed on for that reverse grid front row, I should say. Worth mentioning, actually, Mihai Neg was on the front row of the Nordschleife and didn't score a point. It was a real shame.
Yeah, sometimes how it goes. Just because you start at the front doesn't mean you're going to finish there. You've got to put in the work in for 25 odd minutes. I do think Mrak and Antonov are potentially fighting a little too hard around there. If I'm Mrak, I'm not fighting Antonov. And if I'm Antonov and I'm seeing the guy fighting behind, I'm letting him through and starting for pole position, thanks. Because if they do fight, there is still half of this race left to go. The likelihood of Rosen being able to catch is still quite high. You've got to be careful of it because you just do not know.
It almost seems a shame in hindsight, doesn't it, that we don't have 30 places on the grid instead of 20, because there is literally action wherever you place the camera. Chris, our producer, is spoiled for choice. And Yuval Rosen is not exactly spoiled for his position as
Barner?
He's P11 as Barner P8. What's going on here? I'm presuming he might have skipped a corner.
I think he must have gone wide going through that chicane. Someone who nearly also went, it was Yuval Rosen who we're looking at here, nearly went straight over it. And now he's feeling that pressure from Trafosakov behind. He's looking to the outside, coming into the hairpin. Not going to be able to do it, but it is a for Noj. It had to. I swear I've seen Noj do that before. Obviously, like nearly 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure he's done the whole. Oh, there's two people fighting behind ahead. I'll get both of them, or at least I'll get one anyway.
We are definitely asking me to recall individual moments from individual drivers from the research, which I do. But I do remember that Naj was involved in one of the biggest incidents down that back straight, but he was also very prolific in regards to overtaking from what was a poor qualifying session from him, and he actually made his way up the order. So he's got previous here at Aragon of doing well after a poor qualifying performance, and certainly P12, not great, but as long as he's still scoring points from the position that he's in the standings, he should be fine. He should be all right. It's like you were saying before, work your way up the order, as Florian Hasser has done. This bloke has flown underneath the radar. He started, what was it, 9th or 10th, if I remember correctly? He's 4th now. Yep,
like I say, pace looking really good for the Dur Esports bunch. They got 3 of them inside the top 4. Looking very, very fast. The Fordzilla duo of Ottaviani and Pliszka, who Fordzilla were looking to have a great round. Here, of course, Gomez. Then it was Fiducci, and then Ottaviani and Pliszka, who were obviously at 6th and 7th at that point, looking like they were going to have a barnstorming end to the shootout. Alas, not quite the case. Fiducci, if there was one car where they'd be like, look, if we are going to have issues with one car, Fiducci would probably be the one where they'd lean on and be like, go on then. He'll be okay.
Yeah,
because he's the one that
he's fine.
He's fine. He's in, and there isn't any major prize for winning the shootout. It doesn't matter realistically. A bit of ego and a bit of confidence coming into the season, but whether you finish first or 20th, you're on the grid. That's the important bit.
James Montgomery is rubbing his hands together. Oh, and he's just rubbed the back of the Hyundai.
Maybe he should stop rubbing his hands together and start keeping his hands on the wheels.
Oh, that is so unfortunate. Thankfully, no harm, no foul for the drivers in front, but it has certainly hurt his overall position.
No,
that was on point, curse of the commentator. That could not have been any more perfect than it was. Not so perfect for James, of course, but it's not too bad. He's still in and around the top 20. Could potentially score points in race 2 here, but at this point, you're looking to have a big points haul in that second race to even be a part of the 2023 grid. Meanwhile, Martin Barner has continued to struggle, and this has allowed Kirill Antonov and Mrak here, Gashparak, to essentially reel him back in and go for a bit more contact. I'm surprised that neither of them spun around. Good balance from both the cars. Kirill Antonov sticks it in, goes up the hill, tries to force him off the road, but Barna says no. Nice to see Barna back on the pace, by the way. And Kirill Antonov again has to readjust his car as Barna. Oh my goodness me, we're going to see the bare metal work if these two keep on hitting each other. And Rack looks to capitalize down the inside, down the hill, down into the chicane. And Kirill Antonov, no sweeps around the outside. Lovely late braking to hold on to 9.
Yeah, that was about as brave as it gets. I mean, you don't see too many outside moves happening coming down into 8, 9 and 10. But alas, we saw some there. We're seeing a bit of side-by-side behind all of this. Naj and Vitfo battling over 13th position. A bit of a switch between them as we look backwards from Yuval Rosen. Can see it all happening. The switching, chopping and changing. I think they might try and go single file once they get through 12 and 13. So that's exactly what they do. But yeah, a little bit of feisty fisticuffs, but I mean, I'm all for it. I just, part of me, sometimes I see it from a driver's point of view. I think, why?
Ooh.
Why are you going for it like that? Like that?
No. Yeah, why not?
Have a terrible exit now. Luciano has gone for it there. You have an absolutely awful exit out of 15.
You say he's gone for it. He was the one defending around the outside. David Naj, and he has compromised his line completely. There's Naj on the outside once again, but Vitvote is going to have the inside line into the chicane, and so he is going to hold on to P13 and lose his touch quite a little bit here from Dravosikov and Rosen, who scurry on up the road. We should mention that we have had another retirement in the form of Leandro Verla, who, sadly for him, looking more and more likely that the Hungaroring will be his only point scores of the entire shootout. Will it be enough to see him through? We shall wait and see. Still 7 minutes left of this one as James Montgomery regains position up to 19th, and that's some lawn mowing. Yeah.
Was it Mackenberg? I think it was.
Might have been.
Yeah, it was Sven Mackenberg who was having an issue there. Might have been a DQ, actually. I don't know off the top of my head, but it could have been a DQ because he did pull off the road.
Oh, look at Pinches. Pinches is definitely a DQ as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Pinches is definitely a DQ, which is just, that's that. We won't see Pinches in the season. That's it.
No, yeah.
As much as I love the idea of a miracle drive, he ain't going from 32nd to what will probably have to be a podium.
At least.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. So I think there might be some more issues. Mihai Neg, also another one. Oh, having a lot of drama in the final moments of this first race in the show. We said we were going to get drama, and yeah, we're certainly getting our fair share. Neg, another one of the problems. Obviously, Pincej, Sven Mackenberg. It's not going well for some of our contingent.
I'm almost certain I used this analogy a week ago. I think it's just as apt now. It does feel like students who have left their like 1,000 to 2,000 word essay to the last minute, and now they're like racing to midnight to try and turn it in on time, if not into the early hours of the morning. Get the pizza ready, lads. We're going to crack this one out. That is from full-on experience. Absolutely. History majors are definitely, there's something. They are stressful. There's a lot of reading, and by the time you're done reading, you've got no time to write it. And that's exactly what I imagine a lot of these drivers without points are thinking on. Now they're going to score all the points in 2 races, or well, 1 race and 5 minutes if we're going to be a little bit pedantic about it. Someone who is not worrying whatsoever is Spence Bunky. I say he's not worried. I think we were with the wrong car, because now that we've rejoined the action, he might be worried about this race win. Max Pfeiffer's caught up to him, only 3 tenths away. Could be a race win on for the man who was in hospital just 9 days ago. Yeah,
I mean, again, Banky's qualified. Pfeiffer's nearly basically qualified. These two, both teammates, both part of the same outfit, Enduro Esports. Both 4.4 seconds clear of Juan Manuel Gomez. Like I said, I think you're just going to let them fight. These are 2 quality drivers. Let them battle it out over the race win. I think it's more of like a showcase rather than anything else really for these. They're going to hoover up first and second almost regardless, unless something very, very silly happens. They've got three little laps to battle it out around Motorland Aragón. I say little laps, it's quite a long one around it.
It's quite a long lap, yes, for sure. Nice to see. Actually, it's nice to see 2 of the drivers who were like, that wasn't really the round for you, was it? In both Juan Manuel Gomez and Tim Yarshall. Unless there have been some incidents unforeseen or just unseen in general from the eyes, because there are a lot of Hondas. It's difficult to pick them out in the early moments. Nice to see both of them actually getting solid races on the board. Manuel Gomez basically gets his best wish come true. He had no one in front of him, because those who were in front of him ran away from him, so it's just a clean track. And Tim Marshall seems to have kept his nose clean as well. P7 would be good points for the EWTCR's first ever double race winner on the same evening. Yuval Rosen will be looking to join the full grid for the first time here. The Israeli, with plenty of pedigree behind him. We saw shoots of certainly improvement from his previous outings in RaceRoom racing experience competitions, with a competent showing at the Nordschleife, and looks to be more good points on the board, but is almost certainly going to miss out on that reverse grip pole position unless something crazy happens for the few in front.
Which there's been a fair share of crazy stuff, so I wouldn't necessarily rule it out, but still it does seem as though it's going to be 11th spot. Pavel McCone going to lose out to Jersey James, straight down the inside. Lovely move going into 14, a little bit too deep into 15 though, and might open them up before they get to that newer chicane at 16 and 17, but I think realistically Montgomery should have this one set. I know there is the look coming from Pavel McConan, and he is pretty aggressive, but I don't think there's going to be much to be said, although that said, he has thrown his nose down the inside, so never mind.
A little bit too much respect shown from James Montgomery there. We broke very early and gave Mukonin a Tesco car park's worth of space, and that has allowed Mukonin back up the inside, as we were talking about Voorhees, and it's Luciano Wittbert, who, given how slow he was off that corner, I can only assume that he might have been spun round. He stays in 15th, so he will be still scoring the last point as things stand, but not ideal.
I thought it was actually someone from inside the top 10 then. I was like, here comes the pole for Rosen, or here comes this battle pack being turned up to 11. Because Dvořákov, Noj also in there, Guibert's not too far behind. If they were fighting over the final spot for that reverse grid top 10, I mean, yeah, you're talking some serious drama. At the moment, it does seem as though Barna's been able to clear out once again from Antonov and Gaspar Marak. I don't think he's necessarily fighting quite as hard as we saw about 10-15 minutes ago.
Well, he knows that he's got to get these points on the board at this point. I mean, we're talking fine margins. I know we were chatting about, well, the guys on 17 points, your Baldies, your Dvořákovs, your Rosens, your Nages, who's on 18, they're going to be a little bit worried. But let's be real here. It's the top 20 that go through to 2023, not the top 17. 20th place was Kirill Antonov on 5 points. Antonov is scoring 9. 19th was Zoltan Shuti. He's not here. He's almost guaranteed to drop out. 18th was Markovic. Nil point. No score for him, and so for the likes of even Jersey James, who've scored a few points up until this stage, yes, you're not scoring points in race 1 unless a miracle occurs. We will have one final lap here before we round up affairs at race 1 at Motorland Aragón, but there is still a slim slither of hope, and for Dvořákov, another of those guys on 17 points. 12th is fine. 12th will do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for those, like we were saying before, for those that are quite close, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, that kind of area, if you really look at those that will be putting them under pressure, as I think we've had another issue. Who's it? It's Vermeulen. Vermeulen's another one to be thrown down the order, potentially with a DQ. I think they're going quite a few today. But for those that are kind of just off that bottom bit, there's not too many that are actually scoring really well in this, which is why I don't think that they're too much of concern. Because when you look at those that are higher up than the 16th, 17th, position on the points. Ben Spanky, way above them on the points. Pfeiffer, way above them on the points. Gomez is below them, but then Haase, way above. Plishko, way above. Alessandro Ottaviani around them. Tim Marshall around them. But then, Barna, way above. It's kind of, there's quite a few of them that are actually above and quite far beyond that. There shouldn't be quite as much pressure. The big points are being hoovered up by the people that have already scored big points.
Well, it's final lap of the race, as you can see, and the question on everybody's lips, I'm sure, at this point is, will Pfeiffer actually go for a move, or is there any reason to? I imagine he might have a stab. I mean, Banky's already had one race win in the shootout to add to his numerous amount, of course.
I want 6 different wins.
I want 6 different winners as well.
Yeah.
And Max Pfeiffer would certainly qualify as the 5th different winner, but it's up to Ben Spanky, I think, at this point as to how hard he defends a potential move. If there is a move to be said here, because Ben Spanky's had so much time to himself, I wouldn't be surprised if he saved a little bit of his tyres here. Max Pfeiffer has clearly utilised a lot of tyre to be able to catch up to his stablemate at Esports. Down the back straight, he just doesn't look close enough. The actual traction off those slow corners is supreme for Banky, untroubled through 12 and 13, untroubled through 14 and 15, untroubled through 16 and 17. It's now down to 20. The final hairpin, the final real overtaking opportunity. Max Pfeiffer, that's about as convincing as saying, you know what, I'm going to do my Black Friday shopping at home. I'm going to go online. I'm just going to have it delivered to me. Well, nothing's being delivered to you for free, Max. You're not going to get it if you're not going to try. Maybe he didn't want to try. That's a second place confirmed for him, but it is a second Race 1 winner of the 2022 Shootout for Ben Spanky. Third place will go the way of one Manuel Gomez. Huge points for the Argentinian there, as Hasser also confirms a decent points haul from 4th. Plichka and Ottaviani come in 5th and 6th, with Yarshall, good points for him, in 7th. Barner will take home 8th, with Antonov 9th. He'll be joined on the reverse grid front row by Gaspar Marak, who will be on that reverse pole position. Rosen 11th, Nars 12th, Dravosakov 13th, Guibert 14th, and Witvode 15th, the last point scorer there. A shame for Benieri, but the Italian a second off. It wasn't close to the end.
No, like I say, that's sometimes how it goes for some. I think we had a lot of retirements in that race, a lot of drama in that race. I think we're going to get plenty more come the next one. There is your race winners, your provisional results, of course. Spence Banky, who was pretty dominant in all that race. Pfeiffer did well to catch up, but you got to say, Gomez, I'm really impressed because he did exactly what he needed to do. Didn't get involved with the race at the front. His teammate helped them build a bit of a gap in Finucci, obviously. Helped them build a gap from Haase, from Pliska, from Ottaviani, and all those behind, and just kept out of trouble. But if I'm any other team looking at this, I'm a little bit scared of Fordzilla and Dura Esports, who lock out the top 7 spots and realistically should have had another one in there as well. They are looking like the teams to beat.
Captain Chris is immediately onto that spreadsheet. We are throwing information at the standings to get a live update for you. I imagine we won't have an update in time for race 2, given that that is immediately after race 1. No rest for the wicked, but it does of course mean that we will be able to give you the top 20, barring any penalties of course, at the end of this broadcast. It should be very exciting. Congratulations to Banky. I think, as I say, spotlight on Gomez and Yarshall under the microscope for very valid reasons from the Hungaroring. They've shown up today. They've had good races. Might have been a little bit more boring for Gomez than Yarshall, but you can only drive the circuit in front of you, and a podium and a 7th place is definitely just rewards. Yeah,
like I say, super drives from them, and yeah, well-deserved from that, well-deserved confidence booster, and that's kind of all those things add up when it comes into not only next race, which is the final race of the shootout, but also, again, as we've said time and time again, the build-up towards the main season itself. Confidence, as we both know, because we don't have any when it comes to driving, is a key factor when it comes to doing well in this industry. You need to be confident. You need to believe in yourself. And sometimes, you need a couple of good results to get you through. And it's that whole thing. It's an age-old expression that works in basically anything, where it takes, in sim racing terms, it takes 1,000 laps to build confidence and 1 to break it. For a lot of these teams, a lot of these drivers, they're using now to build that confidence in a proper racing environment, not just practice, that will affect them later on. And so, for me, this is a very important race for Pfeiffer, a very important race for Gomez, and to get those points onto the board, finishing the season on a high, they're going to have to at least secure something decent in this next race.
If I am Gergo Baldi, I am very scared at this point. I am mightily scared. Dravosakov has just overtaken you. Rosen has just overtaken you. Antonov has not overtaken you, but starts on the front row.
Oh, of course.
And Gaspar Mrak has not overtaken you. He's only scored his first points of the season, but he lies on pole position. Not only that, Juan Manuel Gomez has just scored a podium. He's going to be still starting inside the top 10. We talk about Markovic. He's not scored anything, likely not to score anything in race 2. He starts right at the back. Zoltan Schutte, not here. So Baldi knows that he's got a 2-driver cushion guaranteed going into this final race. I think if he qualifies, though, Lewis, genuinely, unless fortune favors him greatly, it'll be in 19th or 20th, because other drivers are looking strong. They're in great positions for the second race.
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think it's going to be tight. Still, I'd be confident. I think he is going to qualify, but it's going to be very, very tight. The thing is that obviously he only did one round of this shootout, and that was the last round at the Hungaroring. And I've got to say, he didn't look as strong as Gogo Bowden normally does. Meanwhile, here we go. It's race time again.
Indeed. He looked about as good as he did in the EWTCC, but we are a long way away from the EWTCC. It's a lights out in race 2 at Motorland Aragón as the EWTCR looks forward to 2023. Good start there from Antonov on the inside, but Mrak's going to sweep into turn 1 and actually goes away from turn 1. Both go off the circuit. Oh, and Martin Barner, who of course has got a race win to himself, I think got a little bit punchy there. Perhaps saw a little bit too much optimism in the opportunity that presented him. But Tim Yarshall now into P3. And if there is someone from this pack who can win a race, it is him! As round goes Ottaviani into the sand trap. He returns in, I think that's P8, P9 roughly for Ottaviani. But that was a very scary moment.
Yeah, he got squeezed over by Barner there, just a touch coming up into the hairpin, but alas, they do manage to keep going. Thankfully, they're all front-wheel drive, so you just slam that throttle down and you hope for the best. It worked then, and it'll probably work again if that happens. Ottaviani dropping back behind Banky in that 9th position. We're looking at Banky at the moment. He's got Juan Manuel Gomez and his teammate Florian Haas are directly ahead, all going out wide as they depart turn 9, going around turn 10, and this left-hander into the next major overtaking opportunity. There's going to be a few sends on the first couple of laps into this, but Antonov at the front, I think he's going to actually start walking away with this. Antonov's got so much pace and ability right now. If Yarshall starts attacking Mrak, Antonov's gone.
Enzo Guibert, what a start. 14th to 9th, and we're not even at the end of the first lap. He was on 1 point going into today. He just gained 2 more. He goes equal with James Montgomery on 3. 9 points. It might not be enough to see him through to the 2023 grid, but a few more positions, and then he's starting to dream. Luciano Vidvo should already be through from the amount of points he's managed to get. He's going to get another one here, P14, although he cuts across the nose of Max Pfeiffer, who's had a terrible start in comparison, down to 15th, now 14th, and maybe 50th again as Vidvo straddles the curbing, might break late into the hairpin. Max Pfeiffer drifts across, but Vidvo keeps itself committed. Off the road goes Montgomery. Sad scenes as Vidvo holds on to 14th.
Yeah, a bit sad for Jersey James. He did really well. I don't know what it is with James. He does really, really well from the back of the grid and then is all right from the middle of it. It's just how it goes sometimes. Back to the battle for 4th, 5th, 6th. Barner defending from Pliszka, from Haasa as well, who Haasa's got the up and under out of the first corner. Now, track map, by the way, is turn 17. No questions, thank you. That is the official WTCR track map, and it says 17th, so we're going to commit to it. Alas, didn't really work out on that scenario. Haasa staring at the back end of Pliszka. Mrak's taken over the race lead, though. You can see that just in the distance. Mrak ahead of Antonov.
Indeed he is, and indeed he has been since the beginning. I think Antonov there with the nose in, and briefly.
No, Antonov definitely led.
No, he definitely did lead. No, you're right. I was thinking he'd gone deep into turn 1, didn't he? So Mrak now back through into the lead, and that pace that you were talking about not materializing early enough. Of course, Antonov a little bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing at the moment as he sits there in his Hyundai surrounded by Honda machinery. Petr Pliszka heading up the hill in P5. The likes of him, Barner and Haasa, it is pretty simple going at the moment. You've got enough points to surely qualify by this stage. But watch out for P7 there. Juan Manuel Gomez, he's got a podium. Yes, I believe he is in the top 20 as things stand. He does need another strong finish here, Lewis, just to confirm things. And I wouldn't want to make any outrageous maneuvers from P7 because that more than likely will be enough.
No, I agree. Like I say, I think 7th is more than enough. Just take the 7th. You don't need to be a hero. You don't need to win the race. 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere inside the top 10. If you can get a podium in the top 10, you're almost guaranteed to go through. So just focus on that and kind of put ego to one side and just bring home the points. And that, again, is easy to say. I'm not so sure we're going to see it. We've seen how aggressive Gomez has been throughout the season. A bit of an issue there from behind. I think it might have been Banky and Gomez switching over positions regardless and switching once again. I think it was Gomez that ran wide.
It was indeed. And he has been able to hold on to P7, but only just. Ottaviani, P9. And looking at the back of Ben Spunky here, which isn't always the easiest thing. Enzo Guibert, of course, has dropped a position there down to P10. So his hopes for the 2023 field takes a little bit of damage. But still keeping these two very honest, indeed. Almost pushing these two. Bump drafting around Motorland Aragón. Don't think you'll say that too often. Up the hill we go. And is anyone looking for a late dive? Well, I think we've already seen enough action up this hill as things stand. People just wanting to get into the groove, get into the rhythm. Still, the Lions share, Lewis, of 20 minutes left on the clock to run.
Oh yeah, there's still plenty of time. That turn 5 hairpin, it is one that you do as you're entering it, because you come through turn 4. It almost feels like turn 5 is always like very, very open for a big send down the inside. And it's just not. It just really isn't a good overtaking opportunity. Even down here is slightly better. It looks a lot more risky and a lot more intimidating, but it's a better option through 8, 9, and 10. If not, just be a bit patient. Wait for those chicanes going through 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You wait for one of those chicanes and make a move through one of them. Those are the better options around here, and they do work. Or even turn 1. Turn 1's a great opportunity if you can nail the final 3 corners. You don't need to go for it down into 5. I do still feel like we're going to see some pretty big sends. Either way, we'll focus on this. Ben Banky behind now, 1.1 seconds behind Gomez, and he has Alessandro Ottaviani. Now, if Ottaviani is going to play the same kind of card that Gianmarco Fiducci was going to play in the previous race, Ottaviani is going to fight Banky very hard to try and drag him completely off the rear of Gomez, because that would help his teammate immensely.
Worth mentioning Fiducci, actually. He's one of 2 drivers not returning for race 2, that also being Matija Markovic, who I think saw the writing on the wall and decided it simply wasn't worth it. Marvin Mackenberg, our first retirement of the day, is Kirill Antonov back into the lead, because what's happened to Mr. Mrak? Well, Mrak has jumped back up to the race lead. Methinks shenanigans here. Methinks a lot of shenanigans, because Tim Yarshall all of a sudden challenging for P2, joined by Barna, Pliszka and Hasser, and Manuel Gomez in there as well. Almost 3 wide into turn 1. Mrak leads. Hopefully he doesn't go deep this time around. He is going to retain that first position as Antonov forced off the road, back onto the road, and Yarshall lucky to not be caught in a sandwich maneuver here. Antonov remains in P2.
Yeah, it's a bit of a train. Obviously 7 of them in it, being Mrak, Antonov, Yarshall, Barna, Pliszka, Hasa and Gomez, all involved in this train. This is turn 5. There is a send from Antonov, and that's why it doesn't really work. It opens you up. You want to give it a go, and sometimes you just can't properly get there. Around the outside of 6, around the outside of 7. More brushes like what we saw in the first lap. It's 2 by 2 behind as well with Yarshall and Barna. Oh my goodness.
It's Gergo Baldi rubbing his hands together. All he needs is one massive incident between Antonov and Rak, and that's probably him through to the 2023 season.
It's going to happen if they keep fighting like this.
Good as it is, yeah. Barna up to P2 now, managed to slip through Rak there as Antonov goes very wide. Martin Barna challenging for this race legitimately. Tim Yarshall perhaps a little too aggressive there. Up into turns 6 and 7, now down to P5. Pliszka up onto the podium. P3 as he has the inside line on Gazprom Rak, who's forced off the podium. Contact between the 2. Rak tries to hold it around the outside, and here comes Tim Yarshall now once again around the outside. That's a hill! That's a hill, helicopter man! Give me cars! There they are!
Oh, yeah. Who's going off the road? Oh, it's going to be bad! That's going to be very bad. That's Pliszka rejoining. Straight in. Hasa completely skipped the chicane. I knew this was going to end in tears. I've seen enough sim racing in my time, and I've been a part of it for plenty of times. Every time you're in a train like that, you're just like, oh, someone's going to drop it big time here, and I'm going to pay the price. I know it. I can feel it. Look at the train behind. This is absolutely crazy. Gomez just wants a clean race, and he's sat there being like, I can't get it. I just can't get it.
Oh my god, I actually feel so sorry for him, because he's been driving so well and he has kept out of trouble. He's not done anything crazy, but there's, I think I count 10 cars immediately behind him. There's 1 car up the inside, and that's going to be potentially, is that Enzo Guibert who's moved up into 6th? No, it's Ottaviani, but Enzo Guibert is 8th. He's now 7th as Ottaviani drops out to 8th. The timing tower doesn't know what to make of it. What we can tell you is with 16 minutes left to run, Antonov leads from Barna and Hassan. That's your podium now.
Yeah, live timing saying I don't want any of this, to be honest. Can we just do? Oh, that was a big send. That was a massive send. Who was that? That couldn't have been Gomez, was it?
Was that Guibert? Actually, it was Gomez.
It was Gomez. Wow, that was a proper send for someone who just needs to keep his nose clean in this race. Wow.
Oh my goodness me, and Guibert, of course, benefiting. He's up to P6, he might yet make the grid. We were talking about that big, someone goes very wide there. We'll see someone dropping down the timing order for sure. Venieri, Dravosikov, it looks like as well, as Ben's Banky P8, ahead of Dravosikov in 9th, Rosen 10th. Vitvo Pfeiffer, Venieri looking to score his first points. Is that Leandro Werner in 14th, or is it Lucas? Who knows, but Ray is 15th. Oh, James Montgomery down in 27th. This was the race for him.
Yeah, he's out, I think he's out of the race. He joins Marvin Mackenberg, of course, Marco Vidici, Tim Yarshall as well, out of the race. Big shame for some of them. Yeah, what happened? I don't know what happened to Tim Yarshall.
5th! What did happen? I bet incident points, almost certainly.
Must have been in that just crazy train. This is going to be a lot to keep up with, but we are doing our best in the commentary booth for the next 14 minutes. I don't know. It's absolutely crazy. If you're not excited for the main season now, I don't know what I don't know what to tell you, because it's going to be like this constantly.
So I think that is Tim Yarshall confirmed out. He's not making the 2023 grid. His points total was 13 going into race number 2. So he is gonzo. There is going to be no double race winner in the EWTCR 2023, at least if you're Tim Yarshall. That is a real shame, but listen, it's a Rubbin is Racing sort of series, but there is a limit to what you're allowed to do. Kirill Antonov knows this, of course. He was our last race winner before we went on that extended hiatus in 2020. Martin Barner looking for a second race win in the shootout alone. Someone who is definitely adept at these race 2 performances. Won his first ever race 1 in the shootout. His first ever race win overall was a race 2, however. This is where his heritage lies, and Kirill Antonov is going to be sure to try and keep him behind. They're actually well clear of Florian Hasse, and a good thing they are, because behind Florian Hasse, behind Manuel Gomez, behind Pliszka is the entire rest of the field, Lewis.
Yes, indeed. I will confirm the order, because I know you were asking a bit earlier. 11th place is Lucas Werner, 16th is Leandro Werner. The way round they are. This is a pretty tasty fight as well, obviously down to the final few points paying positions. Noj, Ray, Vinieri, obviously Leandro Werner as well. We're focused on Lucas Werner with Pfeiffer directly ahead of Vosikov as well. Yuval Rosen has got himself back inside the top 10. Hubert, as you said, had done so well to work himself up into those decent points pages, now back down to 8th, but still an incredible drive so far. And just to clarify, we aren't even halfway through the race. We've still got another 25 seconds before we get to that point. Oh, I think it'll be some deep breaths.
Pinchers is up to 17th. I mean, there's a chance that he will score points here, but it will very unlikely be enough to save his skin from, I guess, elimination from the 2023 season. It is more qualification that you're looking for in this particular case. And look, Guibert, at this point, he has been riding a wave. He's been riding a wave on a stormy day, and he is doing very well to be P8. Whether that will be enough to see him through for 2023, we will wait and see. As Antonov once again under pressure from Barner down the hill, down the inside. Lovely move from Martin Barner. Antonov gave him plenty of room. Very respectful racing between the two, but Barner takes the lead.
Yeah, when it comes to the 2 major teams that we've seen so far in the Esports WTCR Shootout, being between Team Fordzilla being...
Dravosikov.
Or is it another DQ? I think it might be another DQ. He certainly is dropping down the order to 25th on my screen. You're absolutely right. So there is more drama. And we're certainly not done with that. But yeah, the 2 major teams, Fordzilla, Dur Esports, Mirror Esports, they were the big team. They were the big one. Barner, though, is flying the flag for the team. Could he be the only one flying the flag? I think it might just be the 2 of them, because I think Noj might be in. I'm still not sure about Baldi. I still think he'll be on, but it's going to be super tight, especially if we see racing like this.
Well, Dravosikov is going to be hoping that it is enough for Baldi, because he currently sits on 20 points, Dravosikov, after race number 1. So if Baldi's through, then he's through. Otherwise, that was a disconnection, surely.
I think it was an instant point.
Oh, is it Banky?
I think it was instant point limits. The way he pulled off and escaped then, I'm not sure who it was, but I'm pretty sure it was instant limit.
My word. My word.
It wasn't Banky.
Was it Mrak?
No.
I don't see Mrak anywhere.
I don't see Mrak anywhere either. And he is at the bottom of my timing sheet on my on my screen. So yes, there we go. It's all right. He's Detective James Kirk.
I mean, we talk about wiping sweat off the brow a couple of times. If you're Baldi and Dravosikov, that is someone who could have scored 25 points no longer in contention for any points. Rack his first points of the season in race 1, but he is going to take no part in 2023.
Big shame. A big shame again, because huge talent. We've seen this with a couple of the Slovenians that have been jumping onto the scene. But yeah, sometimes those are things that happen. Back to this battle though towards the back end, the top 20, and just outside of it, Mihai Neg, Sven Mackenberg, Pavel Makonen's a little bit clear of this train now as Mihai Neg gets down the inside trying to wrestle with Sven Mackenberg with the up and under behind from Vermeulen. Big shame for Vermeulen. Such a great talent, but again, a driver that we've not really seen too much of in the shootout.
But he, honestly, Lewis, is probably through to 2023.
Yeah,
he's got 26 points already. Yeah, he had decent rounds. He had a decent first round, I should say, where he scored 20 points. He scored a podium, of course, in the second race of the Nordschleife. So the talent was there on display. He's just had 2 miserable rounds following that up, but it should be enough anyway. Same could be said for Marvin Mackenberg, of course, Sven's brother. But not looking so good for Sven. Was on 2 points going into the day. His only point score being race 1 at the Nürburgring, and that was a paltry 14th. Martin Barner seems to me like he's going to be adding 25 to his total, a full second clear of Kirill Antonov, who just does not have the pace in that Hyundai to keep up. In fact, it's Florian Hasse who's looking more likely to make positions from 3rd up to 2nd.
Has anyone had a good 6 races? Well, yeah, if they finish where they are, as Axel Vermeulen comes into the pit lane, so he's done for this race. I do believe might be a drive-through penalty, whether it's down to track limits or whatnot. We're not seeing anything pop up though, but it could just be him done for the day. But I don't think anyone's had a solid season from start to finish, which is crazy because it's only been 6 races. But that's just how
Banky.
Banky.
Banky had a 14th in Hungaroring, didn't he? He had no pace to pass people.
In the second race. Yeah. Just couldn't do it. We don't have Success Balaf, by the way. He was just slow. That's slow because he's, yeah.
Oh, Rosen! It's closing door. Watch out. Goodness me. Enzo Guibert, I think, rightly giving him a little punch back there. Rosen does take the position, and by the letter of the law, it is okay. That said, he might be getting a little bit too feisty. He is going to be up to P8. Pfeiffer's going to capitalise, by the way, up to P9. So once again, Enzo Guibert's hopes of the 2023 grid appear to dim. Pfeiffer now up to 8th. The poor exit for Rosen. No surprise there. Watch out for Lucas Verler, P10. He might just be able to slip into the top 20 of the standings should he continue to do well. That's a launch and a half and a disappearing car. It's not a magic act.
Oh, no, it wasn't Guibert. It was Verler. Oh. I'm back again. This is, yeah, like I said, there's been a bit of drama, but we've seen with those disconnections or potential incident limits. I think we're going to see a couple more get booted out, courtesy of going over the line when it comes to breaching the instant limit. Again, it comes down, if you have car contact, if you go over the track limits too much, etc., you get instant points, and the longer the race goes on, the more you do that, the more likely it is that you're going to breach the limit of that, and it's an instant DQ. There is no, drive back to pit lane and have a little drive-through or something. So no, you're out of the race. You're done for the day. Parked, benched, we'll talk to you potentially in the main season, if not, never again. As you see ahead of that, Ray and Noj will switch over position. Sebastian Ray, who's trying to get something from this, but David Noj says, I think not. Thank you very much.
Hey, remember when Florian Hasse on Antonov, by the way. Florian Hasse passed Kirill Antonov for P2 there. Remember when Max Pfeiffer was 17th in this same race?
Yeah.
Because I sure do.
It's just so up and down. The roller coaster that is the shootout, that has been the shootout all the way from that very first round at the Nürburgring, of course, last round at the Hungaroring, and here at Motorland Aragón. They are full of drama, and we've just seen so much, and we've still got 4 laps left to go, James. We're not done.
We're not done.
No way.
No, there is.
For Chris trying to do the maths, by the way. He's very busy. Thankfully, the spreadsheet.
I was going to say he's got help. He's got some AI help, which shout out to all the artists out there. Keep your hopes up, because listen, AI art is not real art. Saying that for the people out there. Enzo Guibert, meanwhile, there's plenty of real points on the board here. P9 though. I'm trying to work my way through. So that's 7 points. That's not enough as things stand. That would be 10 total for Enzo Guibert. I think if we were looking at 5th or 6th, maybe, just maybe, especially with Mac's retirement, we could have seen a sensational last gasp run to the 2023 field. But despite this being his best performance of the shootout so far, Lewis, it's not going to be enough, it seems.
I think not. I mean, there's still time for some more moves, but yeah, I do think it could be the end of the road, and I think that's the same case for quite a few out there. Alas, not quite this guy. He's had, like I said, decent season thus far, trying to get past Ottaviani and Pliszka, the Team Fordzilla duo, who we will be looking to book their places on. These three all basically sets they can do whatever they want, really. Have a nice little bow, have a nice little bit of feisty fisticuffs, and the harder they fight, the more likely that Pfeiffer will join. It could be 2 Fordzillas against 2 Dora Esports. I'm okay with that, if I'm perfectly honest, for that final spot inside the top 5. Importantly for Fordzilla, Gomez, who started this round out with a podium, up in 4th, fighting for another podium, by the way. Could he have back-to-back podiums? That'd be a real turnaround.
That would be a massive turnaround.
Considering it came in with 0 points.
Yeah, 32 points potentially on the docket for him to pick up, only 6/10 away from Antonov. I would actually quite like to join that fight, as much as it's exciting seeing Ben Spanky chasing down Ottaviani here. Antonov's pace has been struggling significantly over the last few laps or so. It is Juan Manuel Gomez on the hunt. We've already seen him provide one sensational move, and it was a clean move as well. Risky, yes, but it was clean. And we could start to see the best of Juan Manuel Gomez, what he's always been capable of in 2023, should he locking in 4th, quite frankly, is going to see him through to the grid. But a back-to-back podium from the shootout that he's had, from the recent form, going as far back as years goes, what a turn up for the books this would be if the Argentinian is able to lock it in.
Yeah, confidence is king, and this could give it with a move down the inside of Antonov. But Antonov is feisty.
Yes.
Like you say, he's not a driver that's going to be a pushover. He's not a driver that's going to let this one go. He's not just going to move over to one side and let you go past. There's going to be a bit of a tricky affair to try and get through that Hyundai Elantra that I do believe is struggling a bit more on its tyres. This is 11th spot at the moment. Noj, Rosen, Sebastian Ray, Adam Pinsesh, Lucas Vela, Leandro Vela. One of them is Leandro. There we go, we got there in the end. All fighting over 11th spot.
Oh, Rosen could be dropping like a stone here. He just seems to have burned through his tyres, which was actually a very similar story to his Nordschleifer life, where he just seemed to drop through the grid. Rosen, I know the feels, and Sebastian Ray is going to be loving the feels of passing him up to P12 now, potentially P13. Is he under pressure from Pinches as well here? Yes, he is. Wasn't able to get the traction he was looking for. Now Yuval Rosen back into 12th. Now Sebastian Ray under pressure. Watch out for Lucas Verler, still on the hunt in P15. And after all that, it seems like they're all going to come out in the same position that they entered that double back straight, essentially. Sebastian Ray may just think, no, he's not going to take P12. It is still going to be Rosen in P12 as Noj scurries on up the road. P11 for him. However, this is looking like a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, not quite as bad as what we saw in the earlier stage of this race higher up. That is a big one down the inside of T1, and the position not being picked up. Never mind. Pinsesh still staying side by side with Sebastian Ray, Yuval Rosen and whatnot heading around. Yeah, Sebastian Ray at the front of this group, Yuval Rosen on the inside going through 3 up to 4 and 5. I almost thought we were going to see some 3 wide into here. There is Sebastian Ray at the front of this group, and they're still going for it behind. No chance of single file. We are going to get 3 wide going through 6 and 7, and surely this is going to be Yuval Rosen backing out, or maybe not.
I've got major news, Lewis.
What?
Kirill Antonov is out.
Oh.
Kirill Antonov, I imagine, has picked up too many incident points. And so, although he scored decently in race 1 alongside Gashman Rack, Gergo Baldi, get your lottery numbers in, mate, because the best case scenario happened.
And Yuval Rosen DQ as well. Absolute madness. Heading on to the final lap of this race. Loeb said there's probably a few more that are quite close on that line that we might well see a couple more DQs. It's so frustrating as a driver, but unfortunately it is one of those things where I will say I think you've only got yourself to blame. You know where you're at with your incident limits. If you're going on to the final few laps and you've only got I don't know, 10 left, right? Don't get involved with other cars. Just accept the points. Take the points and run away with it. Now, sometimes it's someone else will drive into the back of you and whatever. There's nothing you can do about that. Fair enough. But then you still had 30 that you've blown or whatever it is up until that point. It's not easy, but like I say, sometimes you've got to hold your hands up and be like, I messed that one up. It's a shame, but it is what it is.
You get what you deserve in EWTCR. Sometimes it doesn't go for you, but karma has a funny way of serving justice. And unfortunately for Kirill Antonov, he will not be taking part in 2023. I don't think you could have put it any better, Lewis. It's down to his making. If Juan Manuel Gomez went for a move off screen that we didn't see, and Antonov defended too aggressively, maybe you just shouldn't have defended at all, because fourth would have likely gotten you through to 2023 anyway. A shame to see that sour note, but it's not the very end of the race, and so we're sure to live on a high note. And let's give credit to those out front. Martin Barner surviving the melee to be able to head through into first. Florian Hasser, from a poor qualifying effort to come home, what was it, fourth in race 1 I think it was, and a podium in race 2, excellent. But Juan Manuel Gomez, surely one of the stars of the show today. No win, yes, but from 0 points to 32 in the space of one evening, a magnificent effort.
Yeah, back-to-back podiums he's going for right now. 1.9 seconds ahead, 3.7 behind. This one's pretty much locked in. Complete the race, hit the apexes, don't push anything too far, and this has been a superstar round for Gomez. Pliszka, though's got a bit of work to do because he's got Banky Pfeiffer behind, although I'm not sure they're going to go for too much of a move. They might be a part of the same team going against Team Fordzilla and Pliszka, but I just don't think there's too much of an opportunity left. They're a little bit too far back for my liking.
Yeah, I think at this stage, if you are on the points limit for either regard, you just get it to the end now. It's been the race 2 that we were likely expecting. Madness in every facet of the word. But the man who managed his way through the madness best was Martin Barner. When he came into the EWTCR shootout, he was probably hoping to get to the 2023 grid, but maybe not more than that. That has been the Martin Barner story. A points scorer, an occasional race winner. He's tripled his amount of race wins in the shootout. He won round 1, race 1. He wins the final race of the season here at Motorland Aragón. Martin Barner from Florian Hasser, Juan Manuel Gomez, back-to-back podiums. What an effort from him. Petr Pliszka, P4, Ben Spanky, P5. Pfeiffer was as low as 18th in race 2. He finishes 6th. Ottaviani, Leandro Verla, Enzo Guibert, and Sebastian Rey round out the top 10. For those last two, they are not going to be on the 2023 grid, unfortunate, as that was their best performance individually of the season. Adam Pinches scores points, but sadly, the stalwart will not be on the grid either. Luciano Wittwert, Lucas Verla, and Nesic there rounding out the points scorer. So Javosikov did Nesic was 14th, so Javosikov does pick up the final point there in P15. A whole host of retirements, Lewis, but for me the biggest ones being Kirill Antonov and Gaspar Murak, the front row, gone for various reasons.
Look at that list of DNFs.
Crazy.
And DQs.
A third of the field.
7 DQs. 7. Woo! Ooh, that's a lot. That I've seen it. Obviously, yeah, it's how the instant limits work in game and whatnot. But yeah, there's a lot of DQs on that list, including some big names on there as well. Now, whilst Christo, of course, broadcast director, Captain Coffee, will be punching the numbers in as fast as possible, we can kind of just discuss that season, that shootout, who's looking strong, who's not looking strong. For me, 2 main drivers to really keep an eye on. Maybe 3. I'm going to give you 3 drivers, actually, from 3 different teams.
Okay.
Martin Barner from Mirror Esports, I think, does look strong, with 2 race victories in here. Ben Spanky, and of course Gianmarco Fiducci. Of their 3 teams, those 3 look like they'll be leading the charge. But if I'm Enduro Esports, do not ever count out Florian Hasser, because he is one of the most brutally consistent drivers that you'll ever come across, and he couldn't pass me at the Nordschleife. So
pat yourself on the back, sure.
Sorry. But yeah, that's right. You calm down now. That's fine. That was all right at driving. But no, it's like I say. I think there are some strong teams, but I think those 3 from each of their teams are really like the leader. for Mirror Esports, it's a bit of a shock that Martin Barner would be that leader when you've got David Nosh that'll be in the season, potentially Gogo Baldi as well, and yet still you're leaning over towards Martin Barner as being like, probably he's the guy.
Yeah, it's an interesting season for Martin Barner because it does actually, it's perfect symmetry. He has a win, a midfield result, non-points score, non-point score, midfield result, win. Yeah. Which, to me, although I see where you're coming from, and I do agree, certainly going into the season, he seems like the strongest Mirror Esports driver. Is he, for me, a title contender? No, he needed to score points in race 2, or in round 2, I should say, for me to be a little bit more convinced. Banki versus Fiducci. That's the one for me. I know Fiducci didn't exactly have the round he was looking for, but then again, he didn't need to turn up to this round in the first place. He was already safely through, and his results before that speak volumes. No race win, yes, but 2 podiums and 2 very strong point scores at the Hungaroring. When again, he arguably didn't need to worry about going for those podium finishes. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. I like Petr Pliška as well. I think that Pliška's had a fantastic season as well, been very consistent. His only real downside was potentially round 2 at the Hungaroring, where it didn't seem like he was fully at home with the car. And I believe, is that the full points? Is that everything updated?
Oh, well, I'm waiting until it pops up on screen, or till I get confirmation from Chris before I start reading any of these out, just in case. I tell you
what, there might be one of the closest calls we've ever seen in terms of a point situation. I'm just looking at these provisionals.
I'm just desperate for me to be right. I thought the cutoff was going to be, what was it, like 10 to 15, something like that. That's going to be right.
No, you're definitely right. Although that cutoff would have been a little bit higher had we seen drivers actually convert on results.
Oh yeah.
Again,
yeah, but that's how it goes. You know?
Yeah.
There's a reason why the big drivers score consistently, because they're just there consistently. Those that have like the great pace that are kind of there or thereabouts, then they explode, and then we don't see them. There's quite a few on that list that will be in that vein where it's sort of like, oh, well, they look great. Oh, they're out of the race. Oh, and again, same again. This is how you get to the strong field, the 20 drivers that we're going to have on the grid. It's going to be one of the strongest touring car seasons that you'll ever see, and my body's ready for it. I can't wait.
I can't wait as well. There is one of the saddest stories you will ever see. Again, once we get the graphics up, you will know all. But what we can confirm immediately, perhaps to the surprise of no one, given how the results went, is that Bence Banki is the winner of the shootout by a comfortable margin, 9 points. Then again, it's fair to say that although it's competitive racing, Lewis, although you are qualifying for the quote-unquote full competition, lots of money on the line, of course, at the same time, Fiducci could have come back and contested race 2 properly. I'd wager he probably would have scored points in race 2, and that overall leaderboard would be a little bit closer than what it actually is.
Yeah, and like I say, I don't think Fiducci didn't need to do anything major this round, and as I said before, to be fair, we don't know what the issue was. I've not received a message from him. I don't know if it was a DQ or whatnot. Or a disconnection, rather. Well, I think it's too early in the race for a DQ. He was only here to help out Gomez. Gomez got 2 podiums, so regardless, he's kind of like, yep, cool, successful night. Maybe a little bit frustrated not to score any points, but I didn't think there'll be any fears in that camp. Also, I think he's got a pretty busy weekend. I'm pretty sure he's on the lineup for the Le Mans Virtual Series and whatnot. So he's going to be a busy boy. Eyes focused elsewhere, and then he'll be getting ready for the main season. I don't think a round like this will knock his confidence at all.
Oh, no.
And so, like I say, it's going to be... Realistically, I think, based on what we've seen this season, I agree with you what you were saying earlier. I think this is going to be between Fiducci and Banki, maybe the outside chance of Pliška. But we do still have quite a while, and most importantly, when it comes to that season, they'll be locking in cars. They won't be able to jump between each car. So you've got to pick a car which actually works for you and that's going to work on each of the rounds. You can't just go, oh, well, the Honda's strong here, so we'll just take the Honda. That doesn't work. And so we might see those dynamics changing as you would expect.
We may very well see weight balance introduced as well to the equation. It is something that we are well accustomed to in the EWTCR, as we have confirmation that standings are incoming, and those are the standings from going into this round.
Yes, they are. Maybe a bit of an F5 needs to be That's fine. It's just a quick refresh. Yeah, those are what was coming in to this round, with obviously Fiducci up on top. He's going to stay on 59 points. You're absolutely right, though. Ben's Banky with a super round will go from 4th up to the top of the points. Still can't believe that Gregor Hudchek, by the way, was 2nd coming in.
Yeah, he also had a non-score.
Yeah, had a non-score, yeah. But still,
So,
even still, that's a big confidence booster.
Oh, for sure. And I think that Hudchek is definitely someone who just got caught out today more than he had a poor round pace-wise, because that's certainly what we can say of someone like Martin Barner, for example, at the Hungaroring. He just wasn't on the pace at any point that evening. And to a certain extent, he was better today, but I wasn't expecting him to go on and get a race win. I think that definitely that win, it didn't so much fall into his lap, but he played the scenario perfectly, to the extent where Antonov was struggling on tires, for example. Everyone around him was being a little bit too rambunctious, and Martin Barner lives for those situations. He is the calm in the middle of the storm. And ultimately in the WTCR, we talk about literally just staying out of trouble will pick you up points. Well, again, your shining beacon of hope here is Juan Manuel Gomez. This is the round where he proves to himself, not only does he have the pace short term, but he has the pace long term of a race. And here is that points standings. Now, Ben Spanky, Petr Pliška, Martin Barner, we know these folks, Fiducci, of course, Pfeiffer, Hudchek, Hassa, Ottaviani, Wittvogt, and the aforementioned Gomez, of course, there up into the top 10 of the standings from one round alone. Goes to show what one round can do for you. Leandro Verla, I think he's going to be so happy to be here. Axel Vermeulen, of course, had a great first round. Same as Marvin Mackenberg, same as Yuval Rosen. They earned their places from that round. David Naj, small points accrued over all rounds. And so, again, good to see him back, albeit perhaps a little bit of a nerfed form of Naj from what we've seen previously. Dravosakov, we mentioned that he scored a few points and it was enough in the end. Baldy 17th, and now would you believe it, Lewis? Tim Yarshall did end up scoring enough points to get through 19th, but the real heartbreaker, for me at least, is Matija Markovic in 11th, a man who did not bother to turn up for race 2. He thought that he was done. Not only is he there in 20th position with 11 points, Enzo Guibert was 1 point away, and had he finished in that one better position, he would have made it on overall positional advantage.
That's how it goes. I mean, it's a brutal sport generally, whether it's the motorsport itself or the esports side of things. It is absolutely brutal. One position can make a big difference. Alas, on this occasion, not quite enough. Matija Markovic will be on the grid, and like you say, so will Tim Yarshall, so will Gogo Baldi. Still, mate, I'm still, I did say before.
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
Just saying, again, pat myself on the back. I did say we'll see Gogo Baldi on the grid, but it was tight. It was tight.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know what that means. But a few drivers were having a bit of an off-season. Like you pointed out, David Naj there, a bit of a nerfed version of him. We know how fast Naj is. To see him only with 22 points to his name, only kind of hoovering up some of those back-end points, that is not the same driver that I was seeing a year and a half, 2 years ago. Wonder if he's going to come out to play in the main season.
You also got to wonder the what-ifs. What if this round had gone differently? Well, let's take Mrak and Antonov, for example, two drivers that we will not be seeing in 2023. Well, Gogo Baldi still would have made it in 20th position if Mrak and Antonov had converted on those almost certain podium points scores. I want to give a shout out to the likes of Adam Pinches, of course, did score decent points there in race number 2, but he only had 2 rounds to try and score enough to get through. Was always a tall ask for someone that was never really more than an occasional podium sitter. James Montgomery, I feel so sorry for him. He's become the commentator's favorite, but sadly we will not see him. Just didn't have the round that he was looking for. Other guys to look out for in terms of their not presence, of course, we had Rasmus Salo, who has been trying different sims, very strong in and around the sim racing scene. Bo Dixon that you've mentioned previously as well, of course. Sven Mackenberg won't be joining. His brother Lucas Verla won't be joining his brother. So that makes our jobs a little bit easier.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, the season is on the horizon. That's one thing to really focus on. Maybe we need to get James Montgomery into the commentary booth just a bit.
Yes,
as a little bit of an expert to tell us what's actually going on. Get a bit of Jersey James in it. But
bit of Jersey James.
like I say, with the season on the horizon, what we're looking for 5 rounds of just crazy racing, all beginning in a couple of months. Obviously, we've got to take December off, get ready for Christmas and whatnot, and then focus on the year ahead. It's going to be an absolute barnstorm of a season, I'm sure.
Yeah, so essentially what we can confirm to you immediately is January. Most likely looking to be early January, and we mean very early. That's when the leaderboard is looking to open up for that first round of the EWTCR, a 5-round season with plenty of money on the line as well, it should be mentioned. So €10,000 prize pool, 7,500 divided between the top 10, with additional prizes per round for pole position and fastest lap. And so for those 20 drivers who have made it through to 2023, some of the biggest prize money per round, Lewis, that this competition has ever seen.
Yep, as sim racing moves forward, this is another one of those championships that's kind of been at the forefront of it. And like I say, a bit more money on the line for some of the team drivers, a bit more gusto for them to properly get on with it, which is probably going to mean more crazy touring car shenanigans, more drama for us to deal with, and probably more of that 3 wide, just they're just all in 8th. They're just all in 8th. That's what we're going to see quite a bit throughout this season. I genuinely can't wait. It's going to be a long month and a bit away from it, but when it comes back, when we actually see the main season start, it's a long time coming, but it'll be so worth it.
Yeah, it's the sad thing, isn't it? You can't wait, I can't wait, I'm sure the audience can't wait, and yet we are forced to. But we will be back after December. We all wish you a very happy holidays wherever you are, whatever you're celebrating, or if you're not celebrating at all, we wish you a great month ahead, and we hope to provide great action on the other side of it in January in the new year. A big thank you, of course, to Captain Chris, Captain Coffee for providing all of the pretty pictures. A big thank you to Lewis for putting up with me. I'm James Kirk, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.